All right, hey everybody, it's Matthew with Atomic Darts and Coffee and Darts. Just had a little quick technical difficulty there, got that fixed. But hey everybody, thank you for coming on, checking out Atomic Darts and Coffee and Darts episode 21. Then we've got Nathan Scaccia on with us. Let me go ahead and bring Nathan on, and we're going to be taking a look at Scaccia Original cases. I got a fly flying around. Hey Nathan, how's it going, man?
Good, Matt. How are you?
I'm good. So sorry, I got a fly buzzing around. It's crazy Monday morning. Seriously, wow, where that guy came from. How are things in your neck of the woods?
They're good. Can't really complain. Just staying busy, work, and obviously making my cases and getting those out the door and into the customer's hands. So can't really complain.
Nice. And I happen to be a lucky customer, so I've got mine right here. We'll talk a little bit about this guy, but this thing's awesome. So
I'm glad you like it.
Oh, it's beautiful. Hey, as we get into this, just a couple quick questions for you. So like darts, real quick, how did you get into darts? I assume you play darts since you're
yeah, I play quite a bit.
Yeah. So I mean, how did you get into darts? How old were you? Like, what was the draw to darts?
Well, I think the first time I picked up a set of darts, middle school, my brother always would go to Big Five and look at all the sporting stuff, and I'd wander off and look at the dart selection, and I'd get grounded from time to time. So I kind of was looking for something to do in my bedroom. So talked my dad into buying me a dartboard for Christmas, and first place I wanted to put it was up in the bedroom instead of the garage. And sure enough, go and get grounded, get sent to the room. I'd start throwing darts for a while. That was a couple years, and then I just kind of put it down, put it in the garage, put it away. Didn't do much. And then 2011, 2012 or so, a buddy of mine that I worked with at the bike shop, he was a regular at a bar, and they had an in-house league, and they had me come out and sub one night, and then I'd go and hang out with them and shoot. After work some nights, hang out at the bar. So that kind of got me into it a little bit more, and then went down and searched the web to find new darts, found A to Z Magic Darts, and with them being 5 miles from the house, drove down there and kind of met the guys there and bought some darts in-house there, and kind of got hooked a little bit from that point. Joined the SVDA Steel Tip League in 2011, and then pretty much been playing every season since.
Nice. Well, so getting grounded has been a benefit, apparently.
Yeah, it worked out. It worked out. Kind of shaped.
It worked out.
A whole new route in life.
Nice. I don't know. As a parent myself, and you're a parent, I wonder about like grounding my kids. It's like, how much trouble did I get in really when I was grounded versus not being grounded? So
yeah.
But what we're here to talk about are these incredible, awesome cases that you do. So I know that there's a lot of work that goes into this. They're all original. They're all hand done. I am curious, what brought about the idea of this case? I mean, I look at this and I'm like, this is pretty cool. But what brought about getting into these cases? What's kind of that like for you? At least getting into it, and then we'll talk about the process a little bit.
I never really liked the big bulky cases, having something strapped to my belt, or the big zip open cases sitting on the bar top. I just always wanted something small I could keep on my person and just kind of minimal, just the basic necessities. And I saw an all wood case similar to mine that Timmy Nichols makes, and really cool design. A couple of friends of mine had one, and looked at it and just kind of thought how I could make it my own kind of thing. At the time I was doing knife handles, so I was buying the wood resin hybrid knife scales. So at the time I kind of had that material. I thought it looked really cool, and contacted a guy in Pennsylvania that I was buying the knife scales from, and asked him if he could make a block in a certain size for me. So kind of figured out the dimensions I needed, sent him the idea for a couple colors, and he sent me back a couple a couple blanks and got in the garage and kind of got them figured out. Hardest part was finding the way to secure the dart. I've a couple different versions throughout the cases I've made. Now I've kind of settled on a custom 3D printed insert that I have printed up, so it's a much more secure. And yeah, if anyone out there that has one of my cases from the first couple of years, your darts aren't staying in too well, shoot me a message, send it back. I'll put the new inserts in it for you, give it a new polish, buff job, and mail it back out to you. So definitely kind of update your old case if you have one of my first gens. Obviously no charge except for the $2 to $3 to ship it back first class to me. I'll take care of everything else.
Well, that's cool.
Yeah,
that's very nice of you. Yeah, my brother makes knives. He's a master knife smith, and he lives in Nevada and makes knives. And so he works with resins and a lot of wood products. I know that it's a labor of love because you've got a lot of steps to go within this. And I'm going to bring up some photos and just ask you kind of, you know, what the process is like. You know, you and I've talked about this a couple of times prior to me getting my case and the idea of the process. And there's some curing that goes into it and different ways that you can do things to make it better. So let me bring up some photos and then we'll see. We'll kind of go through that. And then Nathan, you can see that photo? Yeah,
definitely. So okay. that case is Buckeye Burl, one of my most popular layouts, which is the diagonal river. Seems to be one of the more popular. So there it is, both sides. So that's my mold I had custom made to the dimensions of my case. So I'm not pouring and making a larger piece and cutting off a lot of waste. There's minimal waste. So I can kind of get it right down to the size blank I need from the beginning. And it also cuts down on waste of wood. So yeah, that's kind of step one right there, is trimming the wood down so it fits just right. That photo was taken right when I was getting ready to pour. So that client wanted red and white. So mixed up red. The red's actually a custom blend I do. So yeah, with the resin, it's a 2-part epoxy, an A side, B side. So I'll take the B side, I'll add in my mica powder or liquid dye, sometimes combinations, kind of depends what the client wants. And then I mix everything up in the B side and then get the color mixed in right. And then when I get ready to pour the A side into it, my resin has a roughly 12-minute working time, depending on ambient temperature. So I kind of got to rush to get it mixed thoroughly. And if both the A and B sides don't mix equally, the resin won't cure properly, and it's basically a wasted batch at that point. So once I mix it together, I've got very few minutes to pour it and get it going. And then to get the color separation, I've got to wait till it hits temp, get it up to about 195, 100 degrees, and then pour it in the case or pour it into the mold. And then it goes into a pressure pot at 60 PSI, and it sits, usually I do them in the evening, so it sits overnight, but my resin really only takes 4 hours for a cure. And then about 4 to 5 days out of the pot to fully cure once it does the initial cure. That photo there. Yeah, that photo there. So you can tell there's quite a bit of difference between the top layer and underneath the first layer. So that popped out of the mold, trimmed up the sides, sanded it, gets it down to pretty much the final dimension, length, width, height. So a lot of sanding and running on the bandsaw to get it to that stage. So up until now, it's a pretty quick process. And then starting here soon, getting it to there. So that's the hand sanded. You can tell the wood looks a lot thinner on the sides, and that's because I've radiused the corners and the bottom. All that's done on a belt sander, kind of by hand, by eye. So if you order 2 cases from me, they're gonna look slightly different. It's just I haven't found. I was using a router table to begin with, but $10 to $15 for a router bit for 4 to 5 cases and having to replace it. I was getting the same result on a sander about the same amount of time. So I started doing hand sanding on that process.
And then I've got, there's that. So this is my case.
Yeah. Yep. So yeah, I was shooting you those messages, and that's what I do. When you order a case from me, there's a lot of personal back and forth between Messenger, Facebook, whatever. A lot of time to sit there and decide what you want. I'll cut a case.
That's really nice.
I've got this one going. Let me get my camera on it. That one going. I'll be contacting that customer a little bit later to kind of see wood and resin works for him. Kind of finalize all those colors, and then we'll be good there.
Keep that off there. Sorry, a little technical difficulty on my part, but what was that case again that you had there?
This is one of my cases coming up. I don't know if I can switch cameras on my phone. Nope. So that one's for a client coming up. That piece should kind of go up in the corner. So another diagonal river. This one's going to be orange stabilized box elder. So a lot of the woods I have the option to do a color with, where it's not just the resin, it's going to be the wood as well. And that's done during the stabilizing process of the wood. So that color does not fade. It does not leave. In fact, when I drill the holes through it, it's going to be orange sawdust all the way through. So it's not just a surface coat on the wood, it's penetrated 100% to the center of the wood.
Nice. So yeah, you'd explained that process to me at when you were doing my case when we were talking about this. So what is that process? I know that you had mentioned that, it's like a pressure process, and
yeah, so stabilizing is pretty critical. When you are dealing with wood in this dimensions, drilling the hole in it, especially on the corners, it does weaken the wood. So I have all the wood stabilized. That's the only process I don't do in-house, that I outsource to a couple guys that have a lot more experience. It's a really expensive process. So I ship out 50, 60 pounds of wood at a time, have that stabilized, and then I have it and it's ready to go. Basically, the stabilization process is infusing the wood with resin to strengthen it.
So then they put it under pressure. Is that what it is?
Yeah, it's you submerge it in the resin, and then that's put into a vacuum chamber, and vacuum's pulled until 100% of the air comes out of the wood. So what you're doing is just picture a sponge. You put a sponge in water, all those internal holes, you're going to pull all the air out of those holes. So once you get all the air out of it, which some woods can be a pain in the ass and take up to 2 to 3 days under vacuum, like a full 72 hours under vacuum to get all the air out of it. Wow. Once the air is completely out, you release vacuum and let it soak for double the amount of time it took. If it takes 12 hours to get all the air out, you got to soak it for 24. Some of the denser Australian woods, like you have on your case, those you need to let soak a little bit longer because it's such a dense wood. It takes a while for the resin to penetrate. And then, so once you're done with the soak, that comes out and then it gets baked for 4 hours. Brought up to a certain temperature, and that cures the resin. So now the wood is essentially partially plastic. All those internal voids, if you look at wood fibers under a microscope, it looks like a sponge. There's lots of little air pockets. So the stabilizing actually pulls the resin into that. And then that process, like the wood you saw earlier, that was done in resin that had an orange dye. So it's actually pulling the dye into the center, the heart of the wood. And when it's cured, it gives the wood that orange color. You can do blues, purples, reds, greens. Not as wide of a color selection as I have with my resin, but a pretty decent selection of color that adds a little bit extra pop to the case. So that's the stabilizing process. And it also will waterproof the case. You can dunk it in water, you can spill a drink on it, and it's not going to absorb the moisture. It won't swell, and the wood won't deform. So it's kind of critical when you're getting it to work with the resin.
So that's kind of the first part. So to go through the steps here, you get a customer and they've got an idea of something they like. I know I was pretty much like, hey, whatever. I just
you gave me maker's choice. So
I'm like, whatever. But you get some particular people that want specifics.
Definitely. Yeah, they want to match a sports team color. They they want to match their dart jersey. I've got a guy in Switzerland. I thought I did a pretty good job matching his jersey. He should be getting his case this week, and I'll be throwing some photos up. But yeah, so basically me and the client will chat, kind of figure out the colors they want, go back through my gallery and look at the different, that customer, the Hulk case, he wanted purple and green for the Hulk. So we kind of sat down and chose the wood that he wanted, do the colors, and then like I did with that case earlier, put the wood in there, kind of make sure it looks the way you're wanting it to. And then that's when the time consuming part starts of the pouring the resin, and then the hand sanding, shaping it, getting it right, getting all the edges contoured properly, and then going through all the grits, hand sanding, wet sanding. So that's the longest time period. And then the final buff and polish, press in the inserts, and it's good to go. I can't hear you, Matt.
I muted myself because I had a sneeze. And of course, I just put coronavirus on all of my stuff, so I gotta wipe it down later. But
I'm sure you're good.
So the process, the time frame. So someone comes in and they pick a piece of wood. Depending on the type of wood it is, it's got to be cured if you don't already have it cured, or it hasn't gone through that process. So that's a few days. Then you get the wood back. You've got to start your process of cutting down the wood, making sure that it's a good piece, getting the resin ready, starting that process. And this could take a good week plus to get a case done. I mean, done's probably maybe 2 weeks to do one, through all the little steps. Now, of course, you can work on multiple cases,
yeah,
but
and I try and do batch work on it. Unfortunately, my wait list is crazy long, and I appreciate all of the patience from everyone out there. But yeah, per case, the initial part of it of picking out the wood and the color, that's all done on the initial. And then when I get to their spot in the queue, then that's doing the wood. All my stabilized wood I have on hand. If I need something done, obviously I'll have to send out to do that. But I try and kind of only go through what I have on hand while I'm showing you what wood you want, just to speed that process up a bit. But yeah, it's a couple hours with getting the mold set up, getting everything ready to go, and doing the pour. And like I said, it cures in about 4 hours, but the full cure is 5 to 7 days after it comes out of the pot. That's the manufacturer's recommendation. I do start working on it a little bit sooner. But once it comes out of the pot, it's about a week and a half or so. Kind of depends. Right now I've got my daughter every other weekend, so that takes out a bunch of working time, and it comes down to getting out in the shop after work and coming home from work and getting out in the garage. Right now it's kind of brutal. My garage is 80 to 90 degrees until midnight, so it gets pretty hot out there in the evenings, but I'll try and go out for a little bit and do a little bit of work. So I don't really sit down and go start to finish all at one time. It is kind of, the process is broken down into different steps, and I can do several colors at once. So I will grab the next 2 cases on the queue and pour those at the same time. They go onto the bench, and then I kind of do up to 2 or 3 when I'm hand sanding at that time. So
you get a process in place, but this isn't your full-time job. This is definitely something you're doing on the side with the hopes to take it into something a little bit larger at some point. Let me ask you, so you do wood and resin, but do you ever do just an all resin case? Is that something that could be done?
Yeah, I've done quite a few. It is an option. Personally, it kind of wasn't what I was after, but I did have some clients that were asking if they could do it. They didn't really like the wood on it. So yeah, definitely can do all resin. Opens up the possibility for more colors and a little bit, you see more of that color and that pop with it.
Yeah.
But yeah, all resins are definitely a thing.
Yeah, definitely think a little. I would assume that the process is a little bit easier, but you got like translucent resins. I mean, there's anything you can think of color wise can be done with a resin. Is that correct?
To a point, yes. So I've got 90 plus mica colors. So all kinds of shades. I think blue alone, I have 9 or 10 different shades of blue. So kind of getting down and picking that certain one. You did mention the translucent, which I have done a few. That is a lot more time consuming, kind of more of a pain in my ass. So I do charge a little bit more for that, just to get that polishing to make sure all of the scratches are out of it and it gets glass clear. Another thing with it is I can't polish inside the tube. So where the darts go in is going to be slightly frosted. So it kind of takes away from a little bit of the look. But my original case is a translucent. One thing with the translucent is you can't really do multiple colors. The liquid dye used doesn't stand alone as much. So if you mix red and blue resin in there, for the most part, you're going to get a muted purple case. During the curing, it's not going to swirl. It's not going to stay separated. So that's one of the drawbacks with that translucent. The micas tend to, you mix a white and a blue mica or a white and a red mica, it's not going to go pink. It's going to stay white and red, like you saw in that case. And that comes down to the pour temp. So I have to make sure it gets up to 9,500 degrees so it thickens up a little bit more so it won't mix. If I mix it right off the bat, right after I mix A and B together, pour the red and white in, it will go pink if it's done too soon. So hitting that right temperature, it's all trial and error, but hitting that right temp and getting the colors to mix. I can do a mica with a translucent, so that can do kind of a cool look as well. So yeah, there's so many options. And then the translucent opens up another 12 colors for me or so.
Nice. I've got a couple, I've got some of these here. Let me just pull this up here. And then I'm going to hide.
I can't hear you.
Let me go and click through some of these. Let me see if I can do this. I'm still learning this program. See if I can see if I do this. Nope, that pulls. All right. We'll just go back to that right there. I'm going to click through some of these. These are off your website. These are customer photos. Again, you can go to Scaccia Originals to learn more about the cases. You can find out about the really cool shirt that Nathan has on. It's they're customized shirts, and I believe those are through Magic Wear.
Yep.
And so
you had Jen last week. She designed this one, so
nice. So you can order up a shirt. But I want to click through some of these and just hear maybe the story behind them and just take a look at some of the differences. This one is my favorite. After looking through these, I'm like, this is just an incredible case. But
yeah, that was a client of mine up in Canada, I believe. I did 2 cases for him. He had the Shot Ronin U and the Berserker. He wanted each. So we went red and black resin to match that barrel. And then he's always going to throw those kind of ice blue shafts. So he wanted to go with, and so that's blue. That one is blue dyed maple or box elder maple. So that's going to be a blue dyed maple.
Very nice.
That one's a client I've got, Brent, down in Georgia. Obviously, he likes the patriotic look, which is one of my #1 selling. I sell the red, white, and blue cases probably 3 to 1 over the other colors. I've done not 3 to 1, 2 to 1 or so. I've done quite a few of those. So I got that one for him.
So out of curiosity, because when you look at this barrel and then you come back to the Ronin U, which is more of that's a thinner pencil shape, how do you adjust for that? Are you asking what the barrel is, or do they just, you kind of got a standard?
Oh, I'll ask what dart you're throwing while I do it. So I work at A to Z Darts. So you let me know what dart you have. There's a 90% chance we have it in stock, and I can go get all the measurements I need. Otherwise, I'll do some research, kind of find out. But my standard drill diameter is just under 8 millimeter. So with those darts, actually, with the Phil Taylors, I actually had to sand those holes up a little bit more for him to get those to fit, which isn't an issue. But since my case holds the dart by the point, so it doesn't matter if you've got a smooth barrel, aggressive barrel, super thin, super fat. I just need to know the diameter so I can open that hole up accordingly. I actually did a mini case for a guy with these little short Japanese soft tip darts, and I had to open that hole up to about 10.5 millimeter. They're really short, fat, stubby darts. Wasn't really an issue. So something I just needed to do that I needed to know during the manufacturing of it.
Nice. So there's this one, which again, another red, white, and blue.
Yeah, another red, white, and blue. That one went down to Georgia as well. That's an Australian burl.
Where's this? I like this right here. I liked the, you can see the differences in these three cases. Like this one's fatter and it's got a little of that translucent. So
yeah,
is this this is all the same gentleman?
Yeah, these are all Derek's cases. He's by far one of my best customers. Really great guy. I spent hours chatting with him, just random dart stuff. He'll hit me up if he has questions. Doesn't even have to do with my cases. Really, really nice guy. And so the case on the right was my first one. That one was outsourced. It was before I started doing everything in-house. And that's an Australian burl. Yeah, it's a translucent red. It has a black vapor, kind of a smoke effect into it. So yeah, it does have a different shape and profile. That one I was doing on the router table. So it was just straight up and down the sides, straight across the bottom. And then on those other two cases, those were where I started to do the hand sanding. So a little bit more of a curve down in the bottom. And obviously they were made months apart, so they are going to be slightly different, but the general width and height is always going to be about the same. And then that center one is a cholla cactus from Arizona, New Mexico area. So it's pretty much those logs that you see in a reptile cage that you can get for your snake or your lizard. Looks kind of like a tube of barbed wire. And that's just the skeleton of the cactus. And that stuff gets extremely hard. It's the only wood I use that isn't stabilized, just because it's so hard and dense that the stabilizing process would take weeks and it won't benefit it too much.
Hey, sorry, I got this fly. She won't leave me alone. I wanted to look at, there was another one.
That one right there, that is the original. That's my first case. That's the one I ever did. First one I ever made. So.
Very nice. I like this muted kind of wood. It's not as shiny. It's kind of like a flat. Is that just the picture, or is that something you can do?
3 years. 3 years of use and throwing it on the table. So it will lose a little bit of that luster right off the beginning. And also when I first did it, I didn't have the buffing polishing setup that I have now.
Well, I like it. I like that kind of. So just over time, from me using this and doing this right here, keeping it in my pocket's gonna do that. I'm afraid to pull it out because people are like, "Hey, I love that. Can I hold it?" Is whatever, and they want to touch it, and I feel like it's gonna walk away one day. Yeah,
you definitely gotta keep your eye on it. Yeah. So, those two, those are both Manzanita. That's for a husband and wife here that play local, Carlos and Liz. Those, I really like the way those came out. It's really hard not to keep every one that I make. I really want to.
You want to hold on to them?
So.
And then there's that first one that you made. Yeah. And then these are about the same time frame would that be correct?
The middle one was I made my case. I didn't sell my first one for about a year after, but the middle one was one of my first batch. I didn't pour that blank. I bought that blank. And made it for him. And then the one to the left was made in-house. So he's from Wisconsin. So I did the middle one's a Green Bay Packers color, and then a Brewers on the left with the blue, white, and gold. So,
well, I might have to get a Kansas City Chiefs.
I'll do a KC one for you.
Yeah, I'm gonna have to get a Chiefs one now that we won the Super Bowl again. So, and then this one is that's your business card, just to kind of show that off. I noticed that, but.
Yeah, one of the blocks for my business card. I don't think it's the exact case, but it was the same block. So
okay, I guess it's not exactly the same. Yeah, it looked familiar when I saw it.
And that's the thing is they're completely different. I could pour, even if I poured a thicker block and turned it into two, they would be slightly different. So
just to look at one more case, this case I thought was really good, but this is the case right here. So is that a translucent type, or is that just a really nice, got that flake in there and it's giving off a really nice color?
That's just a real bright orange. It's actually a multiple different color oranges, but it's fully opaque. You can't see through it. But yeah, so it's got a lot of shimmer to it, and like you saw at the case, like in your video when you reviewed it, take it out in the sun, it really pops. So a lot of these indoor photos don't really do justice to them. But yeah, that's kind of there's some orange, a little bit of a dark burnt orange, some red, and a very faint gold in that. So
nice. All right, well, we're going to move into kind of a Q&A type piece here, and I do, just to show off my piece again. This is gorgeous. It's really, there's some gold and some blue in here, and this is just, and this fly keeps bugging me. But like this corner piece right here is just immaculate. If you're curious about this case and seeing it up close and outside, there will be a link later on, but I do have this. I did a review on this case, and it's out there, so you can get a really nice. You can see the shimmer in the light. It's amazing, beautiful. But to get into some questions, one of the questions that has come out or that was asked prior to is, right now, what are your time frames realistically? So if I were to place an order today, with all that you've got going on, again, this is a side thing, and everybody keep that in mind. Are you 6 weeks out? Are you 2 months out? Are you a year out? What's a reasonable time frame?
Unfortunately, realistically, right now, I'm about a year.
You're about a year out. Okay. So just so that everybody knows that.
Yeah. And I've got, like I said, so many of my clients have been super patient, and I feel terrible. But life gets in the way, and I kind of take care of that. But yeah, right now I'm about 8 to 9 months back. Some of the guys here on my list that I'll be doing this week are kind of right at that year point. So yeah, it sucks, but it is what it is. I'm hoping to get it a little bit better in the next few months. So
yeah, and I know, and you and I've talked about it, and we've been in communication through the A to Z connection for a while, and I know that you've gone through some transitions in life. And the hope and the desire here is to get this a little more streamlined so that you're doing cases more on a regular basis, like able to get them down to like a 4-week turn time. I know that's the plan, that's the goal. And I know that you've kind of mentioned before that maybe you'll come out with a product that's more readily available, maybe an all resin type case where you can do more of them, like kind of batch those together. The wood ones just are what they are. They take a lot of time. There's a lot of work to them. And I kind of wanted to bring that out, that like, hey guys, this isn't something where you get an order in at 7 a.m. and the next day it ships out. This is not that type of product. This is something that's got a lot of love, a lot of technique put into it. And the truth of the matter is, if there's a mistake, it's on Nathan and it's got to be redone. And so I'm hoping and assuming that mistakes really don't happen often, or they're not an issue. Occasionally there's something that'll happen. Yeah. Has wood ever broken in the process? Like when you go to do some of the sanding or something, have you ever had wood splinter or any issues with it?
I've had a few cases ripped out of my hands on the buffing wheel that have shot across the ceiling, hit the floor. Usually they're pretty good. Some of the woods, the Australian woods, just the way they dry, they do crack. But those cracks are usually filled with resin during the stabilizing process. And then as well, when I cast it, so you'll see some of them, you get little streaks of color through the cracks. I try my best when the first stages, if I see the cracks, I'll add a little bit of CA glue to it. That penetrates, kind of holds it together. If I see anything that's questionable, obviously I'm going to contact the client and let them know I've got a repour. But I won't send out anything that I think is going to be an issue. Granted, I know shit happens down the road. So if you ever have an issue with your case, say you're at league, once you're able to go out to the bar, you drop your case and you crack it. The most fragile part is that top corner where the outer holes are drilled, because it is thin there. I warranty everything I make. So if there's ever an issue down the road, your case cracks, it breaks, hit me up. I'll squeeze you in. I'll get something out to you a little bit quicker. But I stand behind my work 100%. And if you're not 100% happy with it, I will do whatever I can to make you happy and want it. Same thing with the resin pour. The color, I never know what it's going to look like until it comes out and I start cutting into it. And multiple instances where the client just didn't get the color separation they wanted, too much of one color, not enough of another. And again, it's one of those, I'm in contact with you guys while I'm making it, and I've had to repour a few for that purpose, but I want you to get what you want, and I'm not going to just give you something that's close to what you want.
Wow. I mean, that's a lot of personalized work. I hope as you get into this, and I really do hope that there's a day when we can, you can go online to Scaccia Originals and just order up. Like, you'll have enough inventory that people can go pick something that's in stock or pick a resin one that's in stock, and then that personalized custom touch will be there. And I know that, like you and I, it took a while. I put my order in, and it took a while, and you were in touch with me consistently saying, hey, Matt, here's what's going on. Here's the step we're in. Here's where we're at. What are the colors that you want? And so I loved the process. And you explained it up front. Hey, this is going to be a while. And that was, that's great service, which a lot of places don't do. So I really personally appreciate that. And I'm sure those that work with you appreciate it. The last question that we're going to get to today, because I know there's going to be a little bit of explaining this, is that 3D component. Because as you guys can see in here, I'm pulling on this. It really takes an effort to get this dart to come out. They don't come out. So how, what's that process look like? You said that you have this 3D printed. Are you doing it in-house? Is it something you're outsourcing? How does that work and look?
So my dad bought a 3D printer a while ago. So he'll 3D print me if I have a custom mold I need done. He'll 3D print something for me if I need it. And my biggest hurdle were the inserts, finding a way to get the dart to stick. When I made my first case, it sat for about 3 months until I figured out. So that is kind of secret. I'm really not going to tell too much about it, because that's what took the longest time to do. So I really don't want to go too deep into it, but yeah, it is custom 3D printed. My dad will run me a bunch of them. Certain material that works well. So, because the biggest thing was soft tip and steel tip. My first inserts worked for steel tip great, but they wouldn't hold a soft tip point. They were too smooth. So that required a whole new process in figuring something out. That was a pain in the ass. Little tubes of rubber that had to get drilled perfectly centered down in the very bottom, inserted and glued in. So that was
proprietary system. Proprietary system. This is what makes this, outside of the beauty of it, but it makes it an original piece that you can only get from Nathan. And I just think I mean, that's the strength it takes to do that, as I'm pulling flights off as I do it.
Give it a little twist when you pull it.
Yeah, a little twist. So it's kind of like a soft tip. You got to twist it a little as you pull it out.
A little bit of a twist and it'll come out. Just like a soft tip out of the board.
Nice. I just like that they don't fall out. I mean, that to me that's huge. And that it holds them in place, and the beauty of the case. So, Hey, Nathan, I just want to say it's been a pleasure to have you on and to talk a little bit about the cases. If you guys are interested in learning more, Nathan, would you tell everybody where they can find you? I know there's a couple places they can find you and put orders in. Where would that be?
The easiest place would be Facebook. Scaccia Originals is my page. I'm also on Instagram. It's n_Scaccia. It was my personal Instagram page, which is morphed into a business page now. Facebook would be the ideal place to get a hold of me. I am still finalizing my website. So scacciaoriginals.com it's not quite 100% where I want it yet. There's some contact, but I'm not sure if if any of that contact me is going directly through me yet to me yet. So the best way is going to be on my website or the Facebook page for now. Okay,
so Facebook /Scaccia Originals.
Yep.
And that'll get you to Nathan, and you can chat with him. And if you guys want to get an order in, I recommend that you do it now. Get your Christmas 2021 order in now, and you'll be good to go. So, but hey, it's worth the wait. It's absolutely worth the wait, I will say. And Nathan, again, I really appreciate you coming on, taking the time to talk about the cases. And if you guys have any any questions for him about the cases, really, he's great. He'll take the time to explain the process and talk to you about it. Just hit him up on Facebook. It is a great way to get in touch with him. And again, put your orders in. Get them in now. I can't talk highly enough about the case. I love showing it off. It's a shame that we're not in the, going out and actually playing face to face right now. But I do keep it where people can see it so that they know, I've got one. I'm one of the lucky few. It's kind of how I feel. I'm in the crowd that has a Scaccia original. Yeah. So
you're part of the cool kids.
I'm one of the cool kids now. Yes. I waited, I had to work for it. So, hey, Nathan, again, hey, I really appreciate you being on, guys. And thanks everybody for being here. Let Nathan know, show him some love in the chat. And if you're watching this on the replay, please, let Nathan know that you saw this and that you like his work. And again, if you've got questions, go ahead and shoot them to him. And then just real quick to kind of end things out here. Again, this has been Coffee and Darts, episode 21, 22. I'm losing track now, which is awesome that we're getting to that point. I do want to thank Magicware for the cool threads and being a sponsor. And I want to thank Atomic Darts. I want to thank Shot Darts for being a sponsor, and Atomic Darts, because technically we're separate. But thanks Shot Darts for doing that. And then Scaccia Originals has come on as well. So you'll start seeing their logo on our stuff. And Nathan and I are working that situation out. But thank you, Nathan and Scaccia Originals, for coming on alongside Coffee and Darts. We will be releasing our new logo here in the next day. I just got my logo done this weekend, got it back, and so you'll see our new logo coming out. Nice. But again, Nathan, I really appreciate you being on. That's the next thing, is how do we get logos on the cases? We got to figure out how to logo cases.
I've got a couple things. I've done a few little 3D prints in the past, so
it's in the works, huh?
Yeah, it's in the works.
It's in the works. So I
work something out for you.
Very awesome. So again, Nathan, thank you again for being on. Hey, everybody, thanks for watching. Don't forget to catch Thursday. Summer Series will be in order, and so we'll be talking about that. Nathan, out of curiosity, what do you think Summer Series is going to be like?
It's going to be crazy. I don't think the crowds will be as big, but I'm looking forward to it, actually seeing some live darts and not in their living room kind of thing. So
yeah.
We'll see.
It'll be nice to be back at the Aki. So
yeah.
All right. Well, again, Nathan, I really appreciate you being on, and look forward to next week, where I believe we are going to have Double Trouble Gin on. We're going to have one of the owners of Double Trouble Gin on next Monday. So look forward to that. And again, Nathan, thanks for being on. Love to have you back on down the road to talk about how things are going. So maybe get you on and Gen Mounts and a couple people. Yeah, please do. I'd love to have you come back. We'll do like a sit down with a couple different people in the darts community and throw questions at you guys.
Yeah, I'm kind of prototyping a new product too. So maybe by then I might have a little teaser and some new photos and some product to show you.
Nice. Yeah, let me know and we'll do that, and we'll throw questions, not darts.
That works.
Could be better. All right. Thanks again, Nathan. Thank you, everybody, for watching. Don't forget to like and share all of this fun stuff out. Nathan, we'll see you around. All right. Thanks, man.
All right. Have a good one, Matt. Bye.
See ya.